I know what you're thinking. It looks like nothing more than a beautiful underwater flower. Soft, colorful, almost impossible not to touch. If you found one in a tide pool or while snorkeling over a coral reef, you'd probably want a closer look. Maybe even reach out with your hand. But stop. Because the creature you're looking at isn't a flower at all. It's one of the oldest predators on Earth. A hunter that has survived for more than 500 million years. It has no brain, no bones, no heart. It never chases its prey. Yet the moment something brushes against its delicate-looking tentacles, the hunt is already over. The victim doesn't hear an attack. It doesn't see danger coming. It simply disappears. And here's what makes this creature even stranger. One of the world's most famous fish doesn't avoid this deadly predator. It chooses to live inside it, completely unharmed. How can one animal die with a single touch while another sleeps safely among the very same tentacles every night? The answer is one of the greatest survival stories in the ocean. Today, we're uncovering the hidden life of the sea anemone, a creature that proves nature doesn't need speed to become deadly. By the end of this video, you'll never mistake it for a harmless sea flower again. Let's start with the biggest misconception. For hundreds of years, people believed sea anemones were plants. It's easy to understand why. They stay attached to rocks. They gently sway with the current. They bloom with bright colors that look almost identical to flower petals. Everything about them says plant. But everything about them is alive in a completely different way. A sea anemone is an animal. In fact, it's closely related to jellyfish and corals, making it part of one of the oldest animal groups on our planet. Long before dinosaurs existed, long before the first mammals appeared, sea anemones were already thriving beneath the waves, and despite hundreds of millions of years of change, they still hunt almost exactly the same way they always have. That's because their strategy is nearly perfect. Instead of searching for food, they let food come to them. Once a sea anemone finds a good location, it anchors itself firmly to a rock, coral, or another hard surface. Then it waits. Not for minutes, not for hours. Sometimes for years in exactly the same place. To us, that sounds impossible. Most predators survive by moving. Lions chase, sharks swim, eagles fly. But the sea anemone has discovered something far more efficient. Why waste energy chasing your next meal when the ocean can deliver it for you? Every wave, every tide, every current carries tiny fish, shrimp, plankton, and other small animals through the water. The sea anemone simply waits for one of them to drift a little too close. At first glance, it seems completely defenseless. Its body is soft. Its movements are slow. Nothing about it looks dangerous, which is exactly why its victims never realize the danger until it's too late. Look closely at its body. At the bottom is a powerful muscular foot that grips rock with incredible strength. Storms can pound the coastline. Powerful waves can crash overhead. Strong currents can sweep past for years. Yet the sea anemone refuses to let go. Above that anchor sits a simple, tube-shaped body, and surrounding the top are dozens, sometimes hundreds, of flowing tentacles. This is where the real story begins. Those graceful tentacles aren't decoration. Every single one is a weapon. From a distance, they dance gently with the movement of the sea. They look soft, peaceful, almost inviting. But every current passing through those tentacles carries opportunity. A curious shrimp, a tiny fish, a drifting crab larva. Anything small enough to become a meal. The sea anemone doesn't chase. It doesn't lunge. It doesn't even appear to react. It simply waits until something makes one tiny mistake. One gentle touch, that's all it takes. In less time than you can blink, the ocean's beautiful flower transforms into a perfectly designed trap, No splash, no struggle, no dramatic chase, only silence. And by the time the prey realizes what has happened, escape is no longer possible. So how can an animal with no brain, no eyes, and no muscles powerful enough to swim capture prey with incredible accuracy? The answer is hidden inside every single tentacle. Tiny microscopic weapons so advanced that scientists still consider them one of nature's greatest engineering achievements. And once you understand how they work, you'll see why even experienced divers know better than to casually touch a sea anemone. That's where our story becomes even more unbelievable. The secret lies inside every single tentacle. If you looked at one under a microscope, you would discover thousands of tiny stinging cells packed across its surface. Each one is a microscopic weapon. Each one is loaded and waiting. The moment a fish, shrimp, or any small animal brushes against a tentacle, the trigger is activated. In less than 1,000th of a second, faster than the blink of a human eye, a tiny venom-filled harpoon shoots outward. It's one of the fastest movements in the entire animal kingdom. The prey doesn't have time to react. It doesn't even have time to understand what touched it. Within an instant, dozens of these microscopic harpoons have attached themselves to its body. Then the venom begins to work. For small fish and shrimp, the effect is immediate. Their muscles stop responding. Their movements become slower. Within seconds, the struggle is over. The sea anemone never needed to chase. Its prey came to it. Now the tentacles begin to move. Slowly, almost gently. They curl inward, pulling the helpless animal toward the center of the anemone. There is only one opening. It serves as both the mouth and the digestive system. The prey disappears inside. Minutes later, only nutrients remain. Then, everything returns to normal. The tentacles spread open once again. The current keeps flowing, and the hunter patiently waits for the next mistake. This strategy has worked for more than 500 million years. When something works that well, nature has no reason to change it. But here's where the story becomes almost impossible to believe. There is one fish that willingly swims into those deadly tentacles every single day, not by accident, on purpose, the clownfish. For almost every other small fish, entering a sea anemone means certain death. For the clownfish, it means safety. It sleeps there, it hides there, it raises its family there. When danger appears, it doesn't swim away from the sea anemone, it swims deeper into it. So, why isn't it stung? Scientists spent years trying to answer that question. The secret is a special layer of mucus covering the clownfish's skin. When a young clownfish first approaches an anemone, it doesn't rush in. Instead, it performs a careful dance. It gently brushes against the tentacles, then backs away, again and again. Little by little, its protective coating adapts. Eventually, the sea anemone no longer recognizes the clownfish as prey. The deadly tentacles simply ignore it. From that moment on, the clownfish has one of the safest homes in the ocean. Predators that would happily eat a clownfish refuse to enter the forest of venomous tentacles. One wrong move could trap them instead. The hunter has become the clownfish's shield. But this friendship isn't one-sided. The clownfish gives something back. As it swims through the tentacles, it scares away fish that nibble on the anemone. It improves the flow of oxygen-rich water around the tentacles. And when it feeds, tiny scraps of food become an extra meal for its host. Both animals survive better together than they ever could alone. It's one of the greatest partnerships in nature. Neither species is using the other. Both are helping each other survive. And the surprises don't stop there. A healthy sea anemone is much more than a predator. It's an entire neighborhood. Tiny shrimp weave between the tentacles without fear. Small crabs hide beneath its body. Young fish gather nearby, knowing larger predators are unlikely to risk getting too close. One sea anemone can support dozens of lives at the same time. Remove it, and that small underwater community begins to disappear. Marine biologists often see sea anemones as signs of a healthy reef. Where they thrive, countless other species usually thrive as well, without building coral, without swimming across the ocean, without making a sound. The sea anemone quietly helps shape one of the richest ecosystems on Earth. It's amazing to think that an animal which never leaves the same rock can have such a huge impact on everything living around it. By now, it probably doesn't look like a flower anymore. It looks like something far more extraordinary, a patient hunter, a safe home, a silent protector, all at the same time. But one important question still remains. If those tiny harpoons can stop a fish within seconds, what happens if you accidentally touch one? Is a sea anemone actually dangerous to humans? Or is its fearsome reputation larger than the real risk? The answer depends on something most people never realize. So, what happens if a human touches a sea anemone? The answer isn't as simple as yes or no. It depends on the species. There are more than 1,000 species of sea anemones living in oceans around the world, and not all of them have venom that's equally powerful. Many common species produce nothing more than a mild sting. You might feel a slight burning sensation, some redness, or a little itching that fades within a few hours. For most healthy people, it's uncomfortable, but not dangerous. But not every sea anemone is so forgiving. Some tropical species have much stronger venom. A careless touch can cause intense pain, swelling, muscle cramps, and in rare cases, serious allergic reactions. That's why experienced divers follow one simple rule: look, admire, but never touch. Not because every sea anemone is deadly, but because you never know which one you're looking at. And here's something important to remember. Sea anemones are not aggressive. They don't hunt people. They don't attack swimmers. They don't chase divers through the water. In fact, they never leave the rock they're attached to. If someone gets stung, it's almost always because they accidentally touch the animal while climbing over rocks, exploring a tide pool, or swimming too close to a reef. The sea anemone isn't attacking. It's simply reacting. Those tiny stinging cells can't tell the difference between a curious hand and a hungry fish. They respond to touch, nothing more. But the greatest threat to sea anemones isn't us touching them, it's what we're doing to the oceans themselves. Across the world, coral reefs are changing faster than ever before. Warmer oceans, pollution, plastic waste, and damaged coastlines are destroying habitats that sea anemones have depended on for millions of years. When a reef begins to disappear, the sea anemones disappear with it. And when they vanish, something much bigger happens. Think back to the clownfish. Without sea anemones, many clownfish lose the shelter that protects them from predators. Tiny shrimp lose their hiding places. Small crabs lose their homes. Young fish lose one of the safest places to grow. Have you ever seen a sea anemone while snorkeling, diving, visiting an aquarium, or exploring a rocky shoreline? Did you know it was an animal before watching this video?
Tell me about your experience in the comments. I read every single one, and your stories are one of the best parts of this community. And if today was the day an underwater flower became one of the most fascinating hunters you've ever discovered, then you've just uncovered another hidden secret of the ocean. I'll see you in the next one.